Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Mobile Ecosystem Forum webinar on customer experience in a data-driven world. My name is Nassia Skoulikariti, and I'm your moderator. For those of you that don't know me, I'm the IoT Program Director for MEF and the founder and CEO of Apiro Data, a platform and services company. However, today, I'm here as a woman being grateful for having this vehicle to celebrate all these amazing females that paved the way for us to have a voice. And I'm joined by 8 amazing women from technology and telco spheres to discuss all things customer experience. So please join me to welcome, in no particular order, Sharon Boyd from Meta B, Valentina Dal Borgo from CMI UK, Atim Akeotu from MTN, Raluca Berciu from CXT Code, Catherine Mcguire from BT, Sneha Sashi Kumar from Root Mobile, Virginie Debris from GMS, and Sonia Kaul from Carex. And I believe I got everyone. Welcome, ladies. Good to have you on this chat. Before we get started, I would like you to take a minute and introduce yourselves to our audience. Let's start with you, Virginie.
Okay, hello. Hello, everybody. Thank you, Nassia. My name is Virginie Debris. I'm the Chief Product Officer at GMS. GMS is an enterprise and MNO vendor. We are securing the MNO networks, and we are providing the enterprises with multi-channel CPaaS capabilities to reach out to the end user. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Atim, I'm going to you next.
Hi, my name is Atim Akeotu. I'm Manager Wholesale International Roaming with MTN Global Connect, where we provide roaming, wholesale, and international services globally. Thank you.
Thank you. Raluca?
Hi everyone, I'm Raluca Berciu. I'm a CX strategist with an intense passion to educate, to inspire, and to support everyone with providing exceptional experiences to others. Well, I'm using my, let's say, blended expertise in legal, business development, marketing to help companies, visionary companies, and people to succeed by simply contributing to the lives of others.
Thank you, Raluca. Sharon, you are up next.
Hi everyone, I'm Sharon Boyd. I'm the Chief Customer Officer for Meta B. So we are a tech company that does Internet of Things, but we've got the company split into 3 complementary business units, one of which is very strongly customer experience, hence why I'm here today talking to you guys. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Sharon. Sonia.
Hi, everyone. I'm here to represent Carex Dalna. I lead the entire product marketing and business development for digital communications. We are, again, a CPaaS company. And the core ethos of the company is to connect enterprise applications to the end users and really drive the whole customer experience for the end users of our customers.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sonia. Catherine, your turn, my dear.
Hi there. My name is Catherine Mcguire. I'm a future messaging product manager with BT, British Telecom, and BE is the network, as I'm sure you are aware. And it's thank you to MEF for organising something to celebrate Women's History Month. I think as women in tech, we appreciate having an opportunity to have our voices heard in this way on such an interesting topic.
Great, thank you, Catherine. Valentina.
Oh, hello everybody. So my name is Valentina Dal Borgo. I represent Channel Mobile International here in the UK. I'm sales director for the carrier business. So I'm responsible for all the product carrier related, from subsea cable to data center, and also the mobility like A2P, IoT, IPX, sponsor roaming. So I have this chance really to see across multiple products and to experience how the market is changing from really the layer of the dumb pipes up to the more complicated services. So I'm very grateful to represent China Mobile here. And yeah, the China Mobile International is the international branch of China Mobile Group. So welcome.
Thank you, Valentina. Thank you. And last but not least, Nia, your turn.
First of all, Nassia, thank you so much for this opportunity. And a little bit about me, I've been in the tech space for around 12 years, completed my master's in management of technology from National University of Singapore, NUS. And I'm currently leading the product marketing initiatives at Root Mobile, a leading global CPaaS communications platform as a service player. Something that I've been extremely passionate about is taking products to market, and something that excites me even more is the equation between products and customers, how things have changed. And thank you so much once again. I just can't wait for this discussion to begin. And over to you, Nassia.
Thank you very much, ladies. Thank you. Before we get started, a little note for our audience. If you have any questions, please put them on the Q&A section, and we'll make time in the end of this session to answer as many of your questions as we're able to. So let's jump in. And of course, I'm going to start with the key question, I would say, and I will come to you first, Raluca, and that is, what is customer experience really? And what does it mean when we talk about building customers or in building customers' relationship?
Well, I would start with, before we jump into what is customer experience and why customer experience has become I would call it the powerhouse for driving growth in companies across the world, no matter the size, the industry. I want to mention, of course, everyone knows the definition. It's the holistic approach to the customer life cycle, from before the sales to the experience the customer has with the products, with the services, to the experience that they when they need the support of the company, to loyalty and the lifetime value. So I would say to better explain what customer experience is to understand that what means creating value for others. It's the essence of every successful business or career. It's the key elevator also for yourself as a person, as a business, because if you don't really create value for someone else, you don't know how, you don't understand her, you don't know how to make her feel special, how to create, I don't know, unforgettable experiences, how to create the deep bond that you have with her, how to make her feel heard, seen, appreciated. So overall customer experience is about the engagement, the loyalty, the trust you have with the person. It's either B2B or B2C. Nowadays, you are selling to people. So I hope I summarized it quite interestingly and nicely.
Perfectly.
Oh, please, Sharon, you were saying something.
Yeah, I was saying I would echo everything you just said there. It's quite hard to summarize what customer experience is sometimes, but you did that perfectly.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is true that it all comes down to providing value. And if we don't provide value, or we don't solve a problem, that the customer actually has, no matter what we do around it, is a fancy wrapping in many ways. So, value is the key here. Atem, why customer experience is important, following nicely from what the ladies just said, for today's consumer world?
Yeah, thanks, Nassia, and thanks, Raluca, for trying to bring that out, all together. in the first place, products and services are built for consumers. So there's no surviving business without them, right? Now, customer experience encompasses every aspect of that journey of whatever the company's offering is, whether it's the customer service itself, whether it's the packaging, the brand, the advertising, the ease of use, how reliable the product or the offering is. It's all that, you know. So experience simply is just how the customer feels about, you know, your offerings and how what you put out there to them, right? So these interactions make the popular saying that customer experience births loyalty and profitability, right? I did a research on some paper some time ago, and there was one quote I picked up from there. I might not get the exact words, but it said something around the lines of businesses who have loyal customers enjoy in their peak performance a lot of profitability. And then when things start to dwindle, you know, they have enough headroom to sustain themselves, you know, just because the experience was outstanding. Now, this not only emphasizes the importance of loyalty, but also that the entire chain, the entire customer journey is an opportunity for every customer service or customer experience expert or business to improve and to make profit from the customer. Now, a loyal customer just wants gains. What does the customer want? You know, and so in today's world, to your question, you know, customer experience is important because it's by the customer and through the customer that the businesses stay afloat in the first place, or are even surviving in the first place. We will go into what happened during the lockdown, during COVID. Customer experience brought out a lot of creativity from business owners, you know, with the aim of just meeting the customer's needs, satisfying the customer, making it easy for him at all channels. Now with social media platforms, you know, and all the other omni-channels that customers have had to use over time, you know, there's been a lot of improvements just to ensure that customer experience, you know, grows and thereby creates loyal customers and then after profitability. Yes, so there is a lot around there, and I'm sure we'll go back into it in depth.
For sure, for sure. And I mean, if anything, what we've seen in the past 2 years is that customers have become more demanding than ever before because everyone and everything has become more digital and the information flows so freely. So companies have to keep up with you know, the rest of the digital world and provide services and provide what the customer needs instantaneously on the channel that they're on and they need it to. So it can get quite, I would say, challenging for many organizations to be able to take care of everything around the customer experience journey. So it's interesting.
I agree. And, you know, just to add that, the channels, the social media platforms and all the channels that customers are using these days are always also able to provide us data. You can see the number of people who have come into these channels and then, you know, subsequently using data to manage the experience and to improve the experience.
Now, one of the areas where there is slight confusion, and I must admit that at the beginning, I was also, you know, asking myself this question, and that is around, is customer experience and customer support the same? Because those two worlds somehow collide. So Valentina, what are your thoughts around that? Is customer experience and customer support the same or different?
Well, I thought about that. I think definitely, I would say the customer support is related to a specific event, is a reaction to a problem and how the company responds to the problem towards the customer. So if the customer asks, you know, contact the chatbot or is calling up for an escalation or is opening a travel ticket, that is the support that we need to give and is related to an event, is a reaction, and it needs to be resolved in the immediate. Customer experience is the whole lifestyle of a customer, as we just mentioned. So it starts with the marketing and it finishes with the post sales. And also is a matter of responsibility without an organization. Each organization is responsible to manage the customer experience end to end. From the marketing is being published, to the services that they sell, to the type of people they hire, and to the post sales and what's happening next, and also the vision for the future, the message that they're giving out there. And it's difficult to manage because there's so many different entities, different teams working together towards a brand of a company. The customer support is normally an answer of an expert towards an issue, immediate issue that the customer has. But the point is that we can build up a beautiful story. If a customer support, if that event is not handled properly, all our beautiful story and all our great message is just going to fail. And the customer is only going to remember the fact that you didn't answer properly to a chat box or to an escalation. And so the customer support really is like the key, the soul of the customer experience, in my opinion, because in one fail moment, we can destroy all the work that we built in few years. So I can see that happening in our business. It's very tricky now. I think everything, as you said, is widely open and available. So there is customer scores everywhere. There are people talking everywhere. Even our event, in the wholesale event, there will be people gossiping about, what's happened, if something went wrong, and if a company reacted well or not. So so the reaction immediate is the first, let's say, signature for a great customer experience.
Great. Nassia, is something you would like to add to this?
Yes, Valentina has summarized it so well. Yes, I totally agree that customer support is one part of the overall customer experience, and customer support is more reactive, whereas customer experience is more a proactive experience. One additional point that I wanted to add is most of the businesses should take this into consideration. That is, the goal of customer experience in many cases is to avoid customers having to contact customer service. So for example, if there is a prospect that reaches out to customer support, saying that, there is this particular product or service wherein I would like to know more about the feature or the product. Yes, customer support can help in answering that particular question. But what becomes important is to take that feedback and implement it in the overall customer experience strategy. Yes, that's something that I wanted to add.
Great, thank you. And I see Sharon wanted to also jump in here.
Yeah, just a very quick point to build on what Valentina was saying there. So customer recovery can be really tough. It's almost the lowest point for most customers, but it can also be that point where you can flip it on its head and really delight a customer and build those strong, loyal bonds if you can build it into a place of delight. So for a customer who never has to contact us at all and is just going along, la, 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 if they have a real dip and they go down, but then you're able to take them right up here, then you really, with a moment of delight, because you've gone over and above what the customer was expecting when they had that dip, that's where you can build a customer for life. So it's a difficult time, definitely, and one we would avoid, definitely, as Sana said there, but it's also a point where you can delight if you do it right. So you can kind of see it as an opportunity as well.
Great, a great point to add. Thank you, Sharon and Catherine.
Yeah, hi, I'm really interested in points. I just wanted to sort of build on the comments already made in terms of, I think if you even think of this conversation from a personal perspective, I know that if I'm for example, I've had a really bad experience with the clothing company recently where they, haven't processed things properly. Their comms have been really bad. I know that it's highly unlikely I'll even go there again to purchase anything because, and that's why I always keep at the forefront of my mind when I'm building out. I mean, I work in the messaging space and I work with big brands to build out really, really good customer service diversion campaigns for customers where we can meet the customer in the most seamless way, where they don't have to contact a brand and they don't have that negative experience that will ruin that customer experience and drive down brand loyalty and cause churn for a brand. And I think hearing it from these other perspectives has been really interesting, and ways that I will bring it into the customer journey that I explore out with customers when I'm looking at really rich messaging experiences in the future.
Oh, that's great. And I see, Sonia, you also would like to give us your thoughts on this.
Yes, thank you, Nassia. So I truly believe that, today in, like you said, in a connected world, right? Getting the customers to actually that high, of satisfaction is really, really critical. And what I today see is lacking is, as a user, right? I feel that a lot of these experiences are very, very disjointed. I mean, you talk about so much of tech getting deployed, big budgets and stuff, but when you see messages from different enterprises that you get every day, they lead you to a certain point, and then it doesn't fulfill anything, right? For example, it could be a redirection to an app, or it could be a redirection to a human agent. But I feel that the complexity of giving a resolution immediately is somehow disjointed, right? So I think we need to kind of look at how do enterprises bring that data, which is in different silos, to be able to provide that instantaneous information, right? To be able to really service them well. It shouldn't be handoffs from whether it's a human assistance or whether it is, a bot managing it, or whether it's somebody else doing the work. At the end of the day, it all has to come together. And that's where we feel a lot of these customer experiences kind of, break out. They don't really give one and all, because I'm a digital user. If I don't know last time I spoke to anybody in a call center, right? And when you want something done, you want it done right away, right? Single click. And that doesn't happen most of the time. So I think that's if we can bring all of that together in this today's connected world, I think that would really deliver a good customer experience.
Thank you, Sonia. And this is actually a good segue for my next question, which is, all this data and everything has become so digital. A lot of organizations are finding it very challenging to provide good service and good customer experience, good, global customer experience. So, Catherine, how can organizations adjust to this data-driven world to provide, superb customer experience, I would say, or, good customer experience?
Yeah, thank you, Nassia. Just to give you a bit of background on myself, I work and I've worked closely with Virginie on the past on this, on looking at how we can future-proof digital commerce channels through things like future messaging. And I think one of the things that we really need to do is move with the market. I think recently a statistic by Gartner said that 54%, and I think that's probably a lot lower, a lot higher even, with younger demographics would much prefer to do something like message a business and have to call a call center. I think it's like a nightmare scenario now with a brand to have to call. I mean, and a lot of organizations are both spending a lot of money internally and providing a really, really tough customer experience for their customers via contact centers. So I think if I was working within a brand, I'd encourage them to modernize those channels, move away from traditional voice channels, look to future things like rich communication services and smart messaging to work with their customers. I think there's so many analytics and customers are bombarded with data that to utilize technology that their partners can provide, such as the technology that I work on, which is RCS, Rich Communication Services, which is sort of like an upgrade to SMS messaging which can provide sort of app-like features within a customer's native inbox, could do things like look at what a customer is driven by, which products they're interested in, and drive those towards them, so that they're only bombarded with data that excites them and not things that are relevant to them. And I think that's probably going to be the next battle in probably the next decade, is to ensure that customers' data being a very, very valuable commodity to brands, are able to provide their customers with what's relevant to them, and retain their customers, providing what we just discussed, customer experience that is relevant to them and meets them where they want to be met, via which comms tools that they want to be met. I mean, we have to remember that mobile commerce accounts for such a massive amount of what customers spend these days. We all scroll constantly. I mean, even this morning, I spent a bit of money just scrolling through Instagram on things that were targeted towards me. And we need to ensure that we monetize this in the best way we can, and customers get what they need from these experiences going forward.
I was on mute. Well, one has to do that once in every webinar. So I was just saying, Catherine, thank you very much. That was quite comprehensive. Is there anything else that you can add to this, Sonia, especially around what other tools do organizations have, or aids do organizations have to help with the customer experience and to satisfy the customers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I strongly believe that there are, you know, of course, there are going to be channels. There's more power today in the hands of the consumers, right? Whether it's text or RCS, or it's any social media channel, whether it's WhatsApp or Viber. Today, I feel you know, because the channels are on the mobile phones, and that's where the customers are. So I feel technology here definitely plays a big role. And when we talk about tech, it can't work in, you know, by itself. You need to rally and automate a lot of processes, you know, which will bring that information that people need to access on their mobile phones, right? So I think the big piece of this experience journey is really about making that two-way communication happen, right? Like Catherine said, you know, a lot of telcos are now investing in two-way communication to flow seamlessly between the, not just from brand to the user, but user to the brand. So, and with this, you know, comes a lot of complexity, because I feel earlier the data was really more offline. You know, whether there was, you know, a retailer which had people walk into the stores, or whether it was, you know, a large banking or an insurance company which had people coming into their, you know, their physical location. So now with digital and with channels everywhere, I think it's become very important to harness that data, right? So the right pieces of tech need to be deployed, which can really take data from all those different sources and then bring it into a unified kind of a warehouse or a data lake, from where you can actually then target and really build profiles of customers, where experiences that you are able to deliver really make sense. They're personalized, right? They are contextual. They really, user can relate to them, and this could be during the entire customer life cycle, right? Whether you are shopping around different websites, whether you are, you know, you've looked at some products and you haven't really bought anything. Whether you're you know, a repeat customer, how do you actually harness that data and the pieces of tech to be able to really you know, increase that or drive that LTV, like we heard you know, a little earlier on in the conversation. So I think tech has to be used correctly to be able to drive these omni-channel kind of customer experiences. Like I said, they cannot be disjointed. I cannot be saying something else on a bot and I cannot be saying something else on my web or a mobile app, right? It all has to come together. And then, and then to top it all the analytics that really come out of your different targeting that you're doing, that also has to be kind of, the user responses, the user CTAs, I think very important to kind of measure them as well, so that constant, data management is happening. And I think that can give a lot of creative freedom to enterprises to really go out there and look at new sales models, look at new acquisition models for their customers, look at more retention, drive new retention strategies, right? And really, in the end, provide services that are truly connected, truly easy and rewarding to access. I think that's what really a good customer experience is all about.
Great. Yeah, of course, data that is not analyzed and dealt with is useless in the end of the day. I see that, Atem, I'll go to you since you wanted to add something, and then I will follow through with the other ladies that would also like to add to this topic.
Thanks, Nassia. My hand was actually up after Catherine, and it was just to add that sometimes we forget that it's the customers that we're building the product or services for. So we're not even asking what the customer wants. In the heads of many product managers or developers, they think they know what the customer wants. So the data we're supposed to use for surveys, and then if you miss it at the beginning, maybe Net Promoter Score kind of, and all of that, we don't pay so much attention to. So I just wanted to add that to what Catherine said. If at the beginning we think about the customer and his experience and begin to see it from his lens rather than what we presume it to be or look like, then it would go a long way to improve customer experience as well.
Thank you, Atem. And Sharon, I see that you would like to add to this point as well.
Yeah, just very quickly, I was going to say what it comes down to here is when you've got lots of different data streams. So you've got Twitter, Instagram, all of them together, text and everything else coming in, and you've got 6 or 7 different channels of the customer trying an email and the next minute phone, then they're doing a Twitter. It's about empowering the front line there to have the visibility, to have some kind of timeline where they can say, okay, the latest thing that came in was this tweet, the one before that was an email. Okay, so I can see what's going on very quickly. So you've got to get your systems right to empower the front line so they have that visibility and they can respond back to the latest piece rather than spending 10 minutes trying to unpick it all. It's making sure the data is presented in the right way so it's quick for both of them.
Absolutely has to be, otherwise they will lose the customer's interest, and then the whole point is, well, pointless. Raluca, from your experience so far working with your customers, what are the things that they're deploy to ensure that they have like a robust customer experience?
I would also like to add a little bit more and answer your question as well. It's in this year, 2022, it's definitely not about meeting the customer needs anymore, but anticipating them. And only for me, personalization, it's a differentiator for sure for the brands, for the companies, using the AI, the bots, the machine learning, the IoT technologies, and so on. You collect all these data, all these massive amounts of data, so you analyze it, and then you also are able to understand the behavior of the customer and anticipate what he really wants. So also, it's the customer experience not only about the resolving the problems of the customer, it's also anticipating them and being able to elevate them. So also with regards to customer support, it's not enough to have a customer support or service that doesn't mean that you really have a wow experience that you provide to your customers. So I think that we should definitely utilize these technologies that we have nowadays to the maximum, but of course the emotional data should be also taken into account and create this bond and the connection with the customer, not only using the data but also using the emotional connections. The physical one, yes.
Great, yeah, makes sense. And Virginie, I mean, we've been discussing here how real-time and on-demand information access from the customer perspective has become a must. So how really self-service and interconnected channels fit in the overall equation?
On the self-service, I would say that we know that it's already a must for the B2C business. We talked about this heavily also there in that panel, but it's also important on the B2B side. We work specifically on the B2B side, and we can talk about, it's all about reporting, like some advanced analytics, some BI. We've talked about as well troubleshooting, ticketing. It's also important to avoid the customer churn. It's very important to keep the customer, because that's one thing to get a new customer. That's another thing to keep that customer. So that's an important thing. Obviously, when you talk about B2C and SME business, it's all about self-provisioning, top up, all those things that you might imagine, and we can learn quite a lot on that. But then also taking my product hat, I would say that the customer experience can only be improved if you have the adaptive UI. That's an important thing, but also some proper and specific APIs. I'm thinking about, just earlier on we talked about how the data could be incorporated into that customer journey, and a plug behind all the major enterprises corporate tools in order to use that data, which is already within the company. It's fundamental. I'm talking there about customer data platform, the CDP. I think that's something very important in order to ensure that you improve the customer experience, and you use it in order to ensure that the interaction with the customer is there. This interaction with the customer is really what is important. And that's where you need those kind of CPaaS, multi-channel, omni-channel, whatever the way you call those platforms, right? I think Catherine and Raluca were saying earlier on that you really need people to feel special. You really need to reach out to the end user at the right time, in the right place, using the right channel. And I think this is what those platforms are all about. A concrete example. A real-time information can be sent using SMS and push, for example, versus a broader marketing campaign would use email. Versus if you would like to have much more two-way interaction, you would use something like WhatsApp or Viber for a real two-way engagement, like a customer service function. And for those two ways, obviously, you also have the importance of how the chatbots and the live agent fallback would work on. And for those chatbots, that's where also the customer experience is going to be important, because chatbot could mean everything and anything, right? And this could be very, very good, as also very, very poor as a customer experience, depending on the natural language processing or the AI or machine learning that goes behind it, right? We all had to live with such kind of poor chatbots experience. But all of that is very important within as a plugin behind the full data that the company owns, and behind all those APIs that could be provided, and the capability to reach the end user through those multiple channels, as I mentioned earlier on.
And Catherine, is there anything that you would like to add to this?
Yeah, thank you, Nassia. I was just, what Virginie was saying just called to mind a future campaign I saw for a brand in the UK, and it was just, I think it really ties in everything that we've sort of discussed in the last half hour. It's sort of what we will come to expect, and it was for a hotel brand, and that you could do things within your messaging client, and it was so foolproof with chatbots that there was suggested replies. And for example, you could be, okay, I was checking into a hotel last night and I queued for about 20 minutes to just check in. You can do all of that virtually before you arrive. That's what customers will expect now. You could wake up late and pay via your mobile phone for extra check-in for 2 hours and pay which if you've had like a party night, you could do. And I just think customers will come to expect this as the norm in the next 5 years, and it's something that big brands are quite slow on. I was staying in a big brand hotel last night. Their provisions were pretty poor for check-in, for things for extras, and this will all be digitized and it will be expected very, very fast in the market, and it's something we need to make sure our customers are aware of, and they're meeting the demand when it's there. And I thought what Virginie described just called to mind a very real example that might be worth mentioning.
Do you believe that the customer would want to? I agree with what you're saying, that we as consumers are already expecting this type of services, right? And to be in our fingerprints and be seamless and fast, so we can get on with things and get on with life. But do we necessarily want to pay extra for all this? I would like to hear your perspective.
I think this will probably become a standard norm. Of course, we'll pay extra for things that are of value, that extras that are monetized within this experience. But I think the experience will be for even just the travel and leisure sector, that will just be the norm and de rigueur of what's expected. But
that's also
there's many channels to monetize that within it. Many ways to monetize that, and that's where the revenue will come in for brands, because they will have delighted customers with a seamless experience that can be built on and monetized.
Nassia, it's very Catherine, exactly, you're very right. And Nassia, the research says that 68%, I think, of consumers are willing to pay more for products or services just because they know that the brand is offering a great customer experience. So that would be 8%, I think.
Yeah, Virginie?
Yeah, I think as well, if I may, what we've seen so far is that if the enterprise, if the company is able to properly action upon that, so I was talking about CDP, I was talking about chatbots and so on, the company will massively invest into automation and would request their suppliers, their vendors, to massively help them into that automation, which not necessarily is going to increase the cost. That's the other way around. This should help them to ultimately decrease the cost. That's ultimately the important thing. So my personal view is that it won't come automatically with price increase, because the cost won't increase massively. That's the other way around. They should work towards making the cost go down.
I tell you that from as consumers, we all had an experience that it was cringe-worthy. And last month when it was time to go to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona, my flight got cancelled in the morning of the flight, and I couldn't reach anybody at British Airways to see what on earth and how on earth I would get to Barcelona, and not even a chatbot. I would have been happy to just have a chatbot, but there was nothing. And then finally I got to fly with Ryanair, and they had these extras that we've been talking about, but for every little extra I had to pay extra. And you know what? I didn't enjoy that at all. I liked that it was all digital, but paying, for the privilege of using the service, it was something I did not enjoy. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, Nassia, that 5 years is a bit generous, to Catherine. 5 years is really a long term. Right now, this is what we expect. Customers already want it now. I mean, I don't remember the last time I walked into a banking hall, and during a recent travel, I could just walk up to the screen, get my boarding pass, didn't have to speak to anyone, you know, if I can avoid that. But then if I can't, then at least let me have a WhatsApp a number or a chatbot or even an Instagram handle. You know, many customers are asking you, what's your Instagram handle? What's your how do I reach you? They really don't want to go into long conversations or have to call you and wait on the call for a long queue. They just want to get it now and now. You know, so we are there already. We're there.
And Sonia, I'm sure you have a lot to add to this as well.
I just want to kind of allude to what Catherine and Nathu was saying just now, that at the end of the day, you can actually, you don't need the customers to pay more, right? If you have the right tech in place, then providing just normal service, right? What you would expect is a moment of delight, right? Because you're really shifting the baseline to better and better and better every day, and that becomes the norm, right? So I think if you're able to really enable that for our enterprises so that they can deliver those messages and those connected experiences to their users, now whether that's via a chatbot or via a lot of automation in the backend. But I think I think the whole customer loyalty that you will be able to drive, let's say, for example, embedded payments within social channels, right? Providing important updates to the users at every critical stage of, let's say, them expecting a parcel or a shipment, and then providing a very responsive customer service. I mean, these are all things that enterprises today have to do anyways. It's just a question of where is your baseline, right? And then you continue to kind of raise that bar as you keep on adopting more and more tech. So I totally agree that you may not expect the end user to pay for it, but there are tons of ways to monetize the seamless experience that you're able to deliver. Not to mention the entire loyalty and the connection to the brand that you're really setting up, in the process.
Yeah, great. And Sneha, what I was going to ask, next, it has to do with chatbots. And I know you guys at Fruit Mobile have a lot of experience around chatbots. So please enlighten us.
Yes, thanks, Nassia. Thank you so much for that question. I think we've been hearing about chatbots for quite some time during this discussion. Now, all of us agree with one fact that businesses today are realizing how important it is for them to delight and serve their customers at every touch point in the customer journey. I would typically classify these moments, I would like to call them as customer moments that matter. And during these crucial moments, if the businesses are not available to the customers, there are high chances that it can lead to frustration. Sometimes they can quietly switch off to another brand, just like with a snap of a finger. So while businesses understand this particular fact, what businesses also need to understand is relying on human efforts alone to serve your customers can be a little challenging. And this is one of the biggest reasons why chatbots are emerging as one of the most effective ways of streamlining and automating customer interactions. So don't get me wrong, we're not saying that, we are going to get rid of human interactions completely. But what's important for businesses to understand is to have a balance and a perfect blend of knowing when to implement chatbots and knowing when to escalate those complex ticketing issues to a live human assistance at the back end. So it's about using the best of both. And if I have to quickly highlight the benefits that chatbots can bring for customer service, one of the most important things is they're going to lift the burden of your customer service representatives. In many cases, chatbots are capable of having conversations that are very similar to humans, and that too at a significantly lower cost than hiring real people. And according to a survey, chatbots can save businesses as much as 30% on customer support costs. Second
big.
is, yes, second is, but we just spoke about it, that is personalization. So chatbots can actually integrate with your backend CRMs, and they can reference relevant data. They can analyze the previous interactions and make the conversations felt as if, you know, the communication is just meant for the customer. At the same time, it's not just about personalization. It's also about, say, suppose whenever chatbots are integrated, or whenever a chatbot transfers the call to a live agent at the back end, the agent need not reinitiate the conversation with the customer. It can actually pick up from the place where the bot has actually left. Yeah. And
Wow.
Yes.
Please finish your
Yes.
your thoughts.
Yeah. One last point is, your chatbots are never going to sleep, or they don't need a break. So they can guarantee you 24/7 support. And according to a study, 68% of consumers like chatbots because they provide quick answers. So to summarize, it's about knowing when to use chatbots and knowing when to ensure that complex ticketings are being handled by live human assistants at the back end.
And how many of you have had an argument with the chat box? I don't know if I'm just unique on that one, but I've had several arguments with several chatbots trying to get to a point. So I think it's key that it's done in a way that, you know, it is relevant for the application and the problem that they're trying to solve and the answers that they give. But I tell you, I've had, I'm afraid to say EEs was one of them when I was trying to get some answers. So,
well, I'm here with the entire BT board in Birmingham in the UK, so I can feed that back.
Oh, please do. Yeah. So
I think it does sort of bring on to that brands do need to ensure that there is a fallback to a real, you know, while customers learn and these chatbots become more and more sophisticated, and yeah, customers don't want to feel like you did on your flight, you know, that they've been ignored, or that it's more frustrating than contact a constant call center, because it will prevent them from using a chatbot again. So they need to make sure that the experience is seamless. So I'll pass that on to the consumer side of the business when I'm talking to them next week.
Thank you, Catherine. And I mean, yeah, I'm glad to see so many of you noting that I'm not the only crazy one having arguments with AI technology and chatbots. But that's the world we're living in. And speaking of which, Sharon, what is the real impact, you know, to a company when we're orchestrating, or they are actually orchestrating their customer experience? I mean, you had quite a bit of play in that area, and I would like to get your perspective on that.
Yeah, and I think with a CX strategy, the key thing is about co-creation. So if you create it with your frontline employees, with customers to an extent, or at least with clear customer missions, and with the sponsorship of those leading the company, then that implementation is going to be a lot more successful than if you just, one person alone is writing some words down on a bit of paper or puts them on a nice painted wall. That whole piece of co-creation and making sure it's really built into the business at all levels and in all steps of the customer journey is I can't stress how important that is, really. So you've got to make sure the sponsorship is there. You've got to make sure it's visual. You've got to make sure as you progress and change things that certainly the employees that are in are accountable for putting it in place, get it and can live it. I think what else is really important when you're thinking about a CX strategy is not only how visual it is, but how accessible it is. So something that we do, we've got a lot of engineers, we use engineer speak. So they talk, you know, they're all in their vans all the time with jokes and whatever they do, you know, we don't use lots of corporate speak when we're talking about our CX strategy. We make it accessible in the language that we use. And the other thing I'd say on you know, sharing the touch points, making sure that it goes across every step of the journey, but also not being afraid to change approach. So you can say very clearly, this is our CX strategy, but given what's happened lately, we've been hit with a pandemic, or, you know, what's going on in the Ukraine or Brexit, etc. We're now having to change slightly. We're having to make a slight tweak to our CX strategy or the way that we're going to put it in place. So don't be afraid to kind of go, actually, we need to change our approach. This has happened, that's happened. Customers are telling us this. We thought it was chatbots. It's not chatbots. We need voice. Don't be afraid to change your approach when you're thinking about your CX strategy implementation, and keep moving with the times. Putting something in that worked 5 years ago and sticking to it is not the way. You need to keep evolving.
So be agile, in other words.
Definitely, and keep talking to those customer facing employees. They are a wealth of information. They know what your customers are telling them, and they know what the solutions are as well. So they are a gold mine for helping with your CX strategy and implementation.
Great, thank you so much, Sharon. Now, conscious of the time, and I know that both Sonia and Nassia have raised a hand to add to this, but there was a question that it falls in line with what we're just discussing around the chatbots and everything else, that I will try to have the panel answer, and that's Steve Jenkins asking, I have just become familiar with IVAs or intelligent virtual assistants. Do these provide the chatbot intelligence Nassia was discussing? So Nassia, if you can give us some information on that, that would be great. Thank you.
So first of all, yes, when it comes to chatbots, it's very important for us to understand that chatbots should be implemented. It should be mainly implemented in those cases where the tasks are simple, things which are commonly asked questions, or things which are repetitive. So when you're saying intelligent virtual assistants, it really depends on how well you train your chatbot. What are the technologies that you would be using in order to train the chatbot and then answer that particular question. So I mean, it really depends how well you can train the chatbot. So that's something that I would like to add out here.
Okay, great. And ladies, we just have a few more minutes left before the end of this wonderful hour, I would say. I really enjoyed discussing with you about customer experience. I would like to summarize, everything we've been discussing. If you can each give me a quick thought, a word or two, and of, what's the future really of customer experience. Valentina, I'll start with you.
Yeah, thank you, Nassia. So I think picking up also some the contribution from the other panelists, definitely it must be always on, 24/7. It must be approachable, and the customer must feel that they are changing your business, so you are adapting to them. And if so, they will bring you to our life. You will be, they will be wearing your watch. They will be welcoming the IoT in your house, and they will be using your network for their mobile.
Great. And Virginie? Just
Sorry,
your thoughts, your last thoughts on customer experience.
I echo what I've heard. I think that with the pandemic anyway, more and more things became digital. That digital experience increased for the end users, and therefore that also forced many of our enterprises customers to move forward with much more automation and much more digital transformation, really. That includes that two-way customer experience. I think this IVA or what we talked about on the chatbot is also very important to ensure that there will be additional artificial intelligence, natural language processing, in order to really understand the context a little bit more on the context over here, in order to get the best customer experience and remove as much friction as possible, really. And this is all fairly linked with the customer data management that we talked about earlier. So I think it's the positive around that, the kind of 360 that we have to manage in that customer experience.
Great. And the 2 minutes that we have, ladies, quickly, let's make sure everybody gets a chance. Catherine.
Yeah, I think it comes down to simple, immediate, and exciting for customers. They want something that doesn't take them much, that is intuitive for them. They want something that they get an immediate response on. They don't want to wait anymore, and they want something that excites them. We have to be very mindful that the brands that we work with, I just know from an EVPT perspective, we work a lot with legacy brands. There's so many disruptors coming into the market and that can act faster than them and have more innovative technologies behind them to excite customers. And it's something we need to be bringing to the table for the customers that we work with now rather than tomorrow.
Excellent. And Raluca?
Okay, so if before what mattered was what you sold, right now it matters how you sell it. If in the past mattered your product to be maybe 10 times better than your competitor's product, now what matters is the customer experience to be 10 times easier or lighter or seamless than your competitors. So I think I summarized everything.
You have indeed. Atem, give us your final thoughts.
Yeah, so I would say personalization would grow. Customers want to feel that you know them and they're important to you. Automation on all the channels, and then also building the front line with the mindset, the attitude, the behavior that's customer-centric and embracing. Yeah.
Thank you, Atem. Sharon?
I was going to say we can throw all the tech at every experience that we like, but we're still humans. And how many times have you gone through a whole experience and thought, just give me a person, please, just give me a person at the supermarket checkout or wherever else, the airline, as you were saying. So you've got to keep that in mind. We can't get away from, we're going to still need voice channels. We're still going to need people. We can add more in and seamlessly interact as much as possible, but we can't take away the human factor.
Very true. Sia?
Yeah, so one very important thing is when you're implementing a customer experience strategy, what businesses need to understand is, because it's going to be different for different companies, they need to figure out a strategy that will work for them. Also, when you're talking about the future of customer experience, it is mainly to add value and differentiate and not to commoditize. The future of customer experience is, I've mentioned this before, that is choosing what to automate, having a seamless blend of human and digital interactions. So if we are able to put everything together, definitely we can have a great customer experience strategy. One last point that I wanted to add is
we ran out of time, Sneha. We are beyond the hour, so I will stop you there so we can hear also from Sonia. Thank you.
Oh, no, I don't want to take a lot of time here, but I do want to quickly just summarize everything and say that at the end of the day, a great customer experience is really going to be about bringing the communication platforms together, bringing, integrating, let's say, omni-channel commerce, bringing the whole service cloud for customer support and taking the feedback, the voice of the customer, putting it all together in one place, and then really doing whatever you need to do on different channels. So really automation is the key here. And this should be really exciting times. If we can put all of this together, and then key thing is to co-create, right? Co-create with the enterprises, because at the end of the day, they have to get their systems ready for two-way response, right? And I think most of the, like Catherine said, a lot of enterprises are still in their legacy phase. So to really help them get into that responsive mode is very critical. So that's an important piece.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me on this talk today. I wish we had another hour to dive even deeper. I feel we're just scratching the surface. However, it's better than not having one at all. So thank you. I appreciate it. And everyone who's joined us, this session has been recorded. Any questions that haven't been answered, we will take them offline and trying to get to everyone. We appreciate you taking the time and using your hour to listen to us. So happy Women's Month, History Month, ladies. Thank you for joining me.
Right
Bye
on
for
time.
now. Yeah, right on time. Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you for organizing.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you.